Hello, welcome to the Self Learning Podcast by Dr. Sushma Singh. Let us start discussion on Chapter 2 Terms, Concepts, and their use in sociology. And our topic is social groups and society. Sociology is a study of human social life. A defining feature of human life is that humans interact, communicate, and construct social collectivities. The comparative and historical perspective of sociology brings home two apparently innocuous facts. The first, that in every society, whether ancient or feudal or modern, Asian or European or African, human groups and collectivities exist. The second, that the types of groups and collectivities are different in different societies. Any gathering of people does not necessarily constitute a social group. Aggregates are simply collections of people who are in the same place at the same time, but share no definite connection with one another. Passengers waiting at the railway station or airport or bus stop or a cinema audience are examples of aggregates. Such aggregates are often termed as quasi-group. A quasi-group is an aggregate or combination which lacks structure or organization and whose members may be unaware or less aware of the existence of groupings. Social classes, status groups, age and gender groups, crowds can be seen as examples of quasi-groups. As these examples suggest, quasi-groups may well become social groups in time and in specific circumstances. For example, individuals belonging to a particular social class or caste or community may not be organized as a collective body. They may be yet to be infused with a sense of we feeling. But class and caste have over a period of time given rise to political parties. Likewise, people of different communities in India have over the long anti-colonial struggle developed an identity as a collectivity and group, a nation with a shared past and a common future. The women's movement brought about the idea of women's groups and the organizations. All these examples draw attention to how social groups emerge, change, and get modified. A social group can be said to have at least the following characteristics: persistent interaction to provide continuity, a stable pattern of these interactions, a sense of belonging to identify with other members, that is, each member is conscious of the group itself and its own set of rules, rituals, and symbols, shared interest, acceptance of common norms and values, a definable structure. Social structure here refers to patterns of regular and repetitive interaction between the individuals or group. A social group thus refers to a collection of continuously interacting persons who share common interest, culture, values, and norms within a given society. Now, let us discuss types of groups. As you read through this section on groups, you will find that the different sociologists and social anthropologists have categorized groups into different types. What you will be struck with, however, is that there is a pattern in the typology. In most cases, they contrast the manager manner in which people form groups in traditional and small scale societies to that of modern and large scale societies. As mentioned earlier, they were struck by the difference between close, intimate, face to face interaction in traditional societies and impersonal, detached, distance interaction in modern societies. However, a complete contrast is probably not an accurate description of reality. Now, the next point is primary and secondary social groups. The groups to which we belong are not all of equal importance to us. Some groups tend to influence many aspects of our lives and bring us into personal association with others. The term primary groups is used to refer to the small group of people connected by the intimate and face to face association and cooperation. The members of the primary groups have a sense of belonging. Family, village, and groups of friends are examples of primary groups. Secondary groups are relatively large in size, maintain formal and impersonal relationships. The primary groups are person oriented, whereas the secondary groups are goal oriented. School, government offices, hospitals, students, association, etc. are example of secondary groups. The next one is community and society or association. The idea of comparing and contrasting the old traditional and agrarian way of life with the new modern and urban one in terms of their different and contrasting social relationships and lifestyles dates back to the writings of the classical sociologists. The term community refers to human relationships that are highly personal, intimate, and enduring. Those where a person's involvement is considerable, if not total, as in the family, with real friends or a close knit group. Society or association refers to everything opposite of community, in particular the apparently impersonal, superficial, and transitory relationships of modern urban life. Commerce and industry require a more calculating, rational, and self interesting approach to one's dealing with others. We make contrast or agreements, contracts, rather than getting to know one another. You may draw a parallel between the community with the primary group and the association with the secondary group. Now, the next point is in groups and out groups. A sense of belonging marks an in groups. This feeling separates us or we from them or they. Children belonging to a particular school may form an in group as against those who do not belong to that school. Can you think of other things such groups? An out group, on the other hand, is one to which the members of an in group do not belong. The members of an out group can face hostile reactions from the members of the in group. Migrants are often considered as an out group. However, even here, the actual definition of who belongs and who does not changes with time and social context. The well-known sociologist Aman Srinivas observed while he was carrying out a census in Rampura in 1948 how distinctions were made between the recent and later migrants. The next one is reference group. For any group of people, there are always other groups whom they look upon to and aspire to be like. The groups whose lifestyles are emulated are known as reference groups. We do not belong to our reference groups, but we do identify ourselves with that group. Reference groups are important source of information about culture, lifestyle, aspiration and goal attainments. In the colonial period, many middle class Indians aspired to behave like proper Englishmen. In that sense, they could be seen as the reference group for the aspiring section. But this process was gendered, that is, it has different implications for men and women. Often, Indian men wanted to dress and dine like the British men, but wanted the Indian women to remain Indian in their ways, or aspire to be a bit like the proper English woman, but also not quite like her. Do you still find this valid today? Now, let us wind up the session and thank you very much for engaging yourself with the Self Learning Podcast.